Hey, everybody. Give me just a second. I need to invite the rest of the panelists. Hello, two people watching. Let's start inviting them in. If you're wondering what I'm doing, I'm sending invites through Facebook, and what they do is they click on it and then they join the chat. So I just sent one to Zach, just sent one to George, now I'm sending one to Ashley. Clicking on Ashley, send the message. So you're getting to see behind the scenes stuff. And Neil. There you go. Okay. The invites have been sent. Let's see how many people watching now. Hey, Ryan Reed, what's up? Matt, what's going on? 3 people watching. And now we wait for them to come join the party. Oh, I'm sorry, Ryan. That's awful. I will add this up on our Facebook page so people can watch. Oh, that's awful, Ryan. Okay, that's up on our Facebook. Let me put it on our front page. So would you guys stick around and watch me review 2 books by myself if no one else shows up to this party? Well, speak of the devil, no one wants that, so Neil is canceling that.
What are we canceling? I'm scared.
I said, would you guys stick around and watch me review 2 books by myself if no one up?
Also,
if you would, so thank you, Ryan.
I shaved.
Oh, so did I.
You had something to shave.
I did. Hey, your camera's wigging out.
Yeah, well, we don't always get what we want these days.
That's a Rolling Stones song. Can't always get what you want. Sometimes you get what you need.
Where we can't have nice things. Okay, I guess the camera just decided it doesn't want to exist.
Ryan says you're like 80s style. Yeah, it does look like a VHS tape, like skipping, you know, when the heads don't connect. There you go. Oh.
There we go.
Don't sneeze. Don't sneeze. Oh, it did. It did mess it up, honestly. I'm just kidding.
Oh, wait, did it?
No, just like a half a sec. Yep.
Oh, no.
That's so funny.
So is it just going to be me and you reviewing tonight, or did everyone die?
George just wrote back. Going to be about 10 minutes trying to get back home through traffic. Ashley's seen the note, and Zach has seen the note. Oh, Zach has not seen the note.
Oh, yeah, Brad, I got a question to ask. How does it feel to have 2 of your favorite books outsell Batman?
I know. Amazing Spider-Man and Hulk are at some of the best points I remember them being, which is nice.
Like people thought that number 16 was just going to be like a one-time thing because of the speculator thing, but it did it again in May.
Issue 16 of Hulk.
Yeah, they thought because apparently it was a big speculator rush because people were just now getting on the book.
Oh, the book's been rising for a year, and justifiably so.
It's been selling like, what has it been like? It's been 50K for a while, but now it's just upshot recently.
Yeah, the Hulk is really, really good. Ryan, I would agree. Hulk is the best, I think, it's been since Paul Jenkins' run in the early 2000s, nearly going on 20 years, in my opinion. I wasn't that big a fan of Planet Hulk. I liked World War Hulk, though, because he fought all the Marvel heroes, but I'm happy with it. Really happy with it.
And then we need to plan a satellite review because if we don't do it, we're gonna end up with like 20 different books again.
I would agree. And I'm actually I'm not caught up. I haven't read Deadpool 50 yet. Not Spidey Deadpool. Bobby, what is my secret of looking so young?
Mountain Dew.
Yeah. Get an IV of Mountain Dew. I'm 44. I'm not that old, am I? For reading comics, I guess I am.
I mean, you're over the hill.
No, I'm not over the hill.
Isn't 40 like the generally accepted over the hill, or
40 is 50s midlife, and that's assuming you're going to live to be 100. Here's a trick. Here's a trick to making you look youthful. If you ever start losing your hair, shave it, because you will always.
Baby face.
You will always be no, but shave your head and I look 30. Bobby, I'm a married man. Thank you for hitting on me.
How edgy.
I am. It's all good, man. Thank you for the compliment. Thank you. I think having a good time, enjoying your life, and having a good job, talking with your friends about Spider-Man, keeps you youthful. If that is my youthful advice, never not be a kid. So
that's good life advice.
Yeah.
Thank you, Papa Brad. Your name is Papa Brad.
Papa, I do not want to be called Papa Brad. Sounds like you're my Smurf.
Okay.
So it's time to break out the text to Zach and see where he is.
Hang on. We're doing 21 and 22 today, right?
No, we're doing number 822 and 823.
Oh my God. Or no, 825 and 826 if you follow the hunting.
Oh, true.
That's a quagmire if I've ever seen one.
I know. They should have just included them.
Hang on a sec.
Where are you, Zach? Ding. I just sent him a text. Nice clean shave, says Bobby to Neil. Oh, Neil is leaving us. Oh, Neil is muted. It's just me and the 6 people watching now. What do you want to talk about, 6 people? While you're doing that, I'm going to update the front page. And
back.
Welcome back.
I had to go get the official copies, not the digital ones, because
there you go. YouTube. And let's share this. If you're wondering, we're just waiting around for a few people, you 6 people that are watching.
Hey, Ash, how you doing?
Ashley's here. What's up, girl?
Doing good. How are y'all doing?
We're good. We're
tired.
waiting on Zach and George. They're they're late also.
Fashionably late.
There you go. So you're gonna take on Black Cat review?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I have some things to say about it.
Well, here's my question. Did you not like it? I haven't read it yet. Oh, she did not like it.
Which part did you hate more, the writing or the Travel Foreman's art?
The art. Oh my God. What the hell?
The art said, man. Hey, George.
I knew it.
Oh my God.
The Black Cat art is really bad. I've seen like a preview.
God, it's awful.
Here's the thing. I like the pencils, but the coloring is the coloring is disgusting, and that's the problem with Travel Foreman is that his colorist is always terrible. Like, he doesn't have an inker, I don't think.
Ryan-
The lines are terrible. The color's terrible. It's just yeah.
And then Ashley had a seizure.
It's just like a color palette of the worst neutrals imaginable.
Oh, that's funny. McNulty, why are you in the chat? You want to be on the show? What's I didn't think McNulty could make it.
Did you not see the comment on the Facebook post earlier?
No, what happened?
He
had to
said that he got his Dark Phoenix review out of the way early.
Oh, Mike, you want to join us? Dark Phoenix, yeah, looks awful. The reviews are horrible. Have you seen the reviews of this thing?
Oh, it's an
I saw
18% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oof.
I didn't read the reviews. I saw the film, and I automatically hated myself.
That's still better than the Fantastic Four movie. What it
Oh,
got?
man.
Which one?
It's true.
The latest one.
Fantastic.
Oh,
Yeah.
Michael B. Jordan.
You know, strangely, the first maybe 20, 30 minutes of that film, I'm like, well, this isn't that bad. And then the bottom fell out of that movie. Man,
I still need to see it.
it was really bad.
Are we doing reviews or news first?
We're doing reviews, and then Peter's going to join us. Zach is MIA, but he doesn't have a book. So if you guys want to start now, I'm fine with that.
Oh, damn it! I was gonna.
What?
He texted me and called me several days ago. He was like, "Dude, I'm going to be in town. Do you want to go to lunch?" And I didn't answer because I was busy at the time.
You stood Zach up?
I didn't stand him up.
Why
I
not
didn't
here?
see it until much later.
Oh.
Right, 'cause I was-
not be standing us up now.
I was busy doing things, and
I blame Zach's absence on George right now.
and I keep forgetting to text him back
Oh.
and say, "Oh, I'm sorry." And so I was going to say it tonight. I was going to be like, "Oh, hey, by the way, I'm sorry. Things have been a little chaotic for me, and I didn't mean to.
It's all right.
I wasn't spurning you or anything." So, Zach, if you see this, I all the love. I didn't mean
Ryan
to
says,
miss you.
George, how can you break Zach's heart like that?
I am such a beehole.
Yep. All right. I say we start. Let me pull. George, I put it on the Facebook page, and I put it on the front page. Could you put it on the Discord, please?
I will put it on the Discord.
Zach says, on my way on text, but don't read this out loud. No, I'm just kidding.
Too late.
That was you, wasn't it, George? That.
Yeah, because Zach was smack talking Stegron, and I had to get up.
That's
and,
right. That's so
I had to get up
funny.
and put him in his place.
That was one of the funniest moments I ever had on the show.
Yep.
So funny. Zach, Ashley, I'm very sorry you didn't like Black Cat. That just kind of sucks.
I mean, everyone was asking me what I thought about it, if I was excited for it, and I said, I've been through this before. I'm not getting my hopes up.
Well, is it? Are you referring to the slot era, or are you talking about the Black Cat mini
The
from
last
the
time
90s?
she had her own original line.
Oh, the last she had like a 2004 mini. I think
the art
that wasn't very good.
Wasn't there also a 2010 mini? I think it was like Claws or something like that with Wolverine.
God, that art was bad too.
Oh yeah, I remember all that.
It was unfortunate.
Man, that just sucks. Okay, we ready?
Let's do it.
Let me see who's got. Ashley, you're leading, aren't you? And then
I'm
George is.
leading.
Okay. Coming down in 3, 2. Hey, Crawl Spacers, welcome to our review show. We're going to tackle 2 books this month. We're going to do 822 and 823 of Amazing. And let's introduce the panel. We've got Neil. What's going on, Neil?
Well, I'm shaved now, so now I look like a child.
No, you don't. You look great. You look great. Shaving is a good thing.
No, I haven't shaved completely in 2 years. So
Oh, wow.
So this
Well,
is
there
new.
you go. There you go. Someone who doesn't shave is George. What's going on, George? There's the segue.
Yeah, my beard is actually, I think, dramatically longer than the last time you guys actually saw me. So
What maintenance do you do on a beard? I've always wondered.
Right now, for like the last year, not much. I've been a hillbilly.
Do you like trim it
Basically.
around? Like I've never grown a beard ever. Like, do you trim it here and trim it down here, or what?
Normally, like when I'm employed and life is normal, and I actually have to appear like I give a damn. Yes.
Okay.
I use clippers. I usually shave my head with clippers, and then with a razor, and then I'll shave the sides. Get the. Normally, I don't wear the goatee this long, but I'm a wizard at this point. Literally, I've become Ben Kenobi. I have family that doesn't even see me anymore sometimes.
Hello there.
I'm throwing out gold, and Ashley's just like, yeah.
Ashley, I don't have a segue for you, but welcome, Ashley.
Well, here's a segue. I don't have a beard either.
Oh, there you go.
Surprise! Plot twist.
We could have
I know.
just said you were a crazy cat lady, but
And
There you
now the what Ashley and George are the same person. Can truthers take that?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. There you go.
Add another little log to the fire there.
McNulty, who is eating dinner and watching us live instead of being on the show, says shaving sucks if you go against the grain, Brad Douglas. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. I've nicked my head many a time early in the morning shaving it fast. No iTunes reviews. No one has written a new review since April. So and Apple said, you know what? I'm doing away with iTunes. So you're going to have a podcast app on your PC. So you can search Spider-Man and Crawl Space appears right at the top.
don't they already have a podcast app? They're just getting rid of the middleman.
I guess I'm going to have to download it for my PC. I don't have the podcast app. I've got it on my phone, but I'll have to see what the alternative is. So Ashley is going to do the first issue. George is going to do the second issue. Ashley, start us off with 822. A lot of vermin. Aren't you glad JR's not here? It's one of his least favorite characters.
Vermin triggers
Yeah,
JR
we
so
got-
much.
I know,
And he's all over this cover, so I'm sure he'll love it.
no doubt.
I've been trying to think of what to call this vermin conglomerate. I've got infestation. I've got plague. The Black Plague. Exterminators.
Yep. There you go.
But
Real quick, and Zach is on the line driving. Hello,
Again.
Zach.
Good afternoon.
you're driving.
Good
You're doing vertical.
morning.
Oh gosh, he's late and shooting vertical video,
And
he's-
driving.
and he's dark. I can't see him.
Oh,
Now there you are.
no.
That's also illegal.
God.
Ryan Reed says Zach After Dark. No one wants that podcast.
Does this make me an accessory to a crime now?
Oh
I
my
guess.
god!
We're
You just
complicit.
buckled up. What are you doing, sir? What in the world? Well, at least you made the show. That's what you should say to the officer.
But sir, I'm on a podcast with my friends. What do you mean I got a $400
I'm
ticket?
literally like a minute and a half from my house.
Yeah, but it's 9:21. We start at 9. The
What do you
fans
mean?
demanded it.
But
Hey, listen, my mother came in very unexpectedly this weekend. I was literally trying to get out of the parking lot, and she had a very emotional thing going on, and I
Aw,
could
well,
not.
No.
I
walk
have
away from
I have
that.
no problem with that, dude. No problem with that. Ashley, start us off with 822. What happens with vermin?
All right. Well, we open with Craven staring menacingly and dramatically out of the window as he watches Spidey get torn apart by the vermin clones.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a single lone tear as he contemplates the test that Spider-Man must face and the task that he's laid out before him. And he's just so crushed by the burden of the task that is before him and what he must do.
Mm-hmm.
We cut to the villains who are engaging in guerrilla warfare against the hunters. White Rabbit is acting as bait and luring them out, and all the other villains gang up and attack them. Someone comes up to the Vulture and says that, "Oh, we're taking heavy casualties," and he tries to look like he cares. He smiles knowingly and says, like, "Oh, well, yes, there must be sacrifices."
Real
Great.
quick. Hey, Zach, mute real quick. We hear a lot of road noise.
Vroom vroom.
Vroom, vroom. There you go. Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Ashley.
We cut back to when he had been talking with Craven, and Craven is like, "Oh, yes, he understands that sacrifices must be made." They say something about thinning the herd and, lots and lots of heavy, heavy foreshadowing. Peter is getting overwhelmed by the vermin. He says, "MJ, I love you," and somehow he gets killed. He's almost killed by the vermin squad.
Yeah.
And getting torn up. I guess this is just, I don't know. I
Really?
didn't buy it at all.
You really think vermin can take out Spider-Man? I don't
know.
think so.
was
I
like,
mean,
"Wait, really, this
yeah,
is happening right now."
I don't see it happening, but
Okay, they're ripping him up, and yeah, he's going into the light. He sees the light at the end of the tunnel, and I love you, MJ. This is it. But before they can finish him off, there's like a big fwee and they get called off and he's left and he fades into the next realm, or so we're supposed to think. I'm not buying it.
What I real quick, what I thought was humorous was he sees Craven approaching him holding a gun from Rom. Doesn't that look like Rom's gun, George?
The neutralizer.
Yeah, it looks straight like I thought that's Rom's gun.
I mean, they killed him off in 2000, so they might as well use some of his old stuff.
Yeah.
Blech. Craven goes on some mess about avatars and how Spider-Man's not worthy. He's too afraid. But Craven will make the Avatar worthy again. We're back on this totem mess. Craven apparently saw eight-legged freaks and was scared by it when he was a kid, and so he wants everyone to be scared of spiders again because they're apex predators, even though I can squish them with my thumb. Spider-Man wakes up tied up. Well, I say tied up. He's not really tied to anything, but he's tied. He's got like a thing around his neck, and it's got like a cute little tail on it. It's not actually attached to anything, but don't touch it because it'll blow up. And he's all drugged up and like he's got some potions. He had some weird dreams about Craven. I'm gonna have some weird dreams about this comic because I don't know what's going on. Connors is there too. And he just kind of was like watching Spider-Man sleep, I guess, and wondering what the hell was coming off of the thing around his neck.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd be staring watching too and trying to figure out what the heck is going on there.
Connors is looking like Bruce Banner in this scene too. Looks
He-
very
he's
Bruce
looking
Banner.
intense. I don't know.
I think it's the purple pants.
Well, it's funny because I was thinking about a Hulk reference later, and there's some. So maybe that's intentional. Maybe he's supposed to be channeling Bruce Banner.
There you go.
But yeah, so they talk, and he's like, "Oh, why are you here?" And he tells him why is he there. And someone, I guess, was watching them and notices that Spider-Man's awake now. So they start up the video projector, and they see that Billy and Felicia are in imminent danger. And Felicia is tired because she, took a laser to the chest, and that generally tends to, kind of sap your strength a bit. She decides she's going to rest against a tree while Billy goes on about his daddy issues. Connors. We come back to Connors telling Peter about how they took a visit to Doctor Strange, whose I guess cloak is really taking after George's beard.
It's wild.
Yeah, it's all over the place.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange had confirmed that it is indeed Billy's soul, the real Billy's soul inside of the clone body. So, in case anyone was wondering about that, confirmed. But Billy had overheard because they brought him for some reason. I guess they had to bring him so Doctor Strange could diagnose him and feel out his soul spirit stuff. But he overhears what happened, is weirded out, and then eventually, like through some dreams, he pieces everything together and like kind of remembers, when his dad flossed his teeth with his tendons.
Holy.
But before Kirk connects too much, as he kind of waxes about like, oh, everything you would do for your kids because we're setting up. I mean, we're setting up something that would happen anyways and isn't really a big motivational thing. But anyways, so Son of Craven shows up to shake down Felicia and Billy and put them in imminent peril. Connors is, wants to protect his son and he urges Peter to destroy his inhibitor chip, which there's a huge thing around that because I guess he can't turn into the lizard and like go on a rampage with it, or
Right.
they're the guards that would shoot him down, and the inhibitor chip is attached to his spine, and if you remove it, it would kill him. So of course Peter has to remove it if he wants to save Felicia and Billy, but oh no, if he removes it, then he would kill Connors.
Has he not seen Spider-Man 2 with that inhibitor chip?
Right?
Yeah.
What's with the inhibitor chip? Didn't we have tritium earlier too? I'm getting
Precious tritium.
Precious
It's what makes
tritium.
it's what makes this experiment go.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So there's a whole thing about, oh no, what is Peter gonna do? He's gonna have to kill Connors, but he's not gonna do it because that goes against his code, and he talks about his responsibility. But Connors is like, no, this is my son. You understand real responsibility when you have kids, and so he insists that Peter needs to do this so he can go and save his son. So Peter goes and, I guess slashes the inhibitor chip, and it's supposed to trigger him turning into, transforming into the lizard. I guess it's kind of like when you kill the Hulk in the event in the MCU, and they put him into an imminent life-threatening situation, and he suddenly goes full Hulk. I guess they're going for that there because he goes full lizard, but oh no, he's bleeding there along with the rest of the plot. And Peter somehow feels guilty, even though, Peter, this isn't murder, this is assisted suicide. And I don't really Nick, this is a really complicated issue. Is this how you want to, you want to address this? And this, okay, right at the end of this whole arc. And Kraven notices that he says that, okay, Spider-Man passes the test and he's ready for the final boss now, and he's waiting for him. And as we're lying there looking at Lizard and wondering, oh, wait, without Lizard, there's no plot and there's no way to get out of this, really. So Nick remembers that the story is ground to a halt without him. And so he gets up, he's okay, and he smashes through the wall because...
Lizard smash.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what would your grade be?
This is a C+.
C+. George?
I wrestled with this one.
Same.
I'm gonna give it a B-.
Neil?
B+.
Zach?
I think he's dead.
Okay, I'm
Wow.
Neil is studying to be a coroner. I think I would give it a B- also. Pros, Ashley, what'd you like about the issue?
I think there were some good conversations between the characters. I liked Connors talking to Peter about the importance of parenting and the different facet of responsibility that comes from that.
Mm-hmm.
I like the continued little subplot with Felicia being all, having to dig deep within her to find something resembling a maternal instinct to take care of him. Really curious about where they're going with that.
Well,
but
I mean, she could be a parent like in the video game.
I guess they might. Yeah, I don't know. It gives me I'm getting a weird vibe from it.
Yeah,
I feel like they're going to do something with that later. But there was that. There's the conversation between Peter and Kurt, and I feel like there's one other thing. It's on the tip of my tongue. Y'all go ahead and go around the circle if I'm trying to remember what it was.
Yeah, go ahead, Neil.
It's because they kind of set up Peter as he has a fever and he's not at full strength. I didn't necessarily hate him getting overrun by the vermin swarm, and he's had problems fighting vermin before.
Mm-hmm.
So him getting overrun by them, I don't think was too far out of.
So he's been poisoned by Kraven. I thought that was next issue. So he's got it in his system now.
He was drugged by Kraven Jr. with the gas,
Okay.
and he had the fever from before. He went out to search for Billy and Felicia,
the Peggy Lee fever.
Sure, why not? And then the scene where he.
I love that George got it.
Never knew how much I love you. Never knew
how much I care. When I put my arms around you, I got a fever that's so hard to bear. Kraven gave me fever.
You give me fever.
Come on, YouTube, sing along.
In the morning, fever all through the night. Fever! When you kiss me.
Fever all through the night.
Hey, George, Necro Sword.
I hate you like herpes.
Symbio bro, George, stop encouraging Brad. Yeah, don't feed the bear.
I will say this: the scene where Peter's getting dragged down, he goes, "MJ, I love you." The last thing he thinks he's gonna think before he goes out is MJ, and I appreciated that.
Awesome.
It could have just been, "Oh, Aunt May, I love you." And no, he chooses remember how in Grim Hunt, it was at one moment in time, it was retconned that Peter thought of Aunt May when he dug himself out of the grave. Now I'm glad that instead he's saying that he's thinking of MJ when he's going out. I liked that.
I think I'm going to amend my grade to a C+ because I'm really having problems finding what I liked in this.
Mm-hmm.
The next one I can find some things I liked, but this one is just when I read it, I felt, we could have chopped it down by about 3 issues or so. It's
Mhm.
really padded at this point.
That's my thing, is that
Yeah.
this chapter made me realize,
Mm-hmm.
it made me, and I'm going to say some things, and this is not a knock on Spencer at all.
Yeah.
I am still thrilled beyond words with Nick Spencer and his run on this book. I really and truly am. He has been a godsend.
Yeah.
Not every story is going to be gold. I think this is a good story that could have been better if it had been pared down a little bit.
Yeah, less is more.
But the in between issues, what was it, the RUs or whatever, or
HUs.
the HUs. But this it needed to be shorter, because a lot of this feels like, seriously, it feels like this issue. I'm like looking at the last issue before that, and I'm like, it's running together
Yeah, same.
in a lot of places, and I think part of that is because it's all in the same area. We've got 6 issues basically where they're in the same little dome.
Central Park. Yeah,
and it's going a little long.
I would
And
agree.
we're at the point now where it feels like things are happening because they're supposed to happen. They're not unfolding in an organic way that necessarily feels
Mhm.
relevant to what's immediately going on. The consequences don't feel natural to what the characters are doing at the moment. It feels, for example, like Connor's being there when Peter woke up. It's like, why is he there? Why are they in the same room together? How did Connors get there? Why did they just leave Peter there? Why isn't he why did they just leave him there?
I thought that he was put there because Craven did that by design. Like, he wanted Peter to kill Dr. Connors. Like on that second to last, or the third to last page, or the fourth one, where he says like, "Oh, you passed your test. You've accepted your test." I think Craven wanted Peter in the same room with Connors by design.
One thing I'm
But why Kurt Connors? Like, why this whole, like, oh, this was my elaborate plan all along to get Peter and Kurt Connors in the same room together, so that then Peter would have to, we're going to endanger the lizard's son, so that Kurt would want to rush in there, but he can't because of the inhibitor chip, and then Peter is going to have to be forced to choose between letting, not killing someone and then potentially, and being complicit in someone's death, but to save his son. It feels very, very contrived at that point.
Yeah.
One thing, George, going along with your point where it's going a little long, that seems to be Marvel's MO lately. If you notice at the War of the Realms, you have the main miniseries, and you have like 4 or 5 side ones. With this one, you've got the main story, which is Hunted, then you got the HU issues to add on it to get more money out of us.
In fairness, things have been going too long since House of M.
That's true. That's true. Or Civil War, the side minis with that. What, Neil?
I'm more forgiving of the Hunted issues because at the very least, the reason I'm okay with that is because the Hunted issues at the very least the Hunted issues have their own story, while the Hunted issues supplement them. Whereas with War of the Realms, the main event has like nothing going on. Everything's going on in the side issues, but then in the main event, it's sort of like Spider-Verse, where nothing's happening in the main story, but everything's happening in the tie-ins, and they expect you to read the tie-ins to know what's going on in the main story.
I would say with that, I agree with you for most of the issues, but when we got to the Vulture, to me, that's when it started to feel very bloated, especially because so much of the Vulture subplot carried over into the main story, and I just kind of was not into it anymore.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
McNulty in chat has a very good point. Craven had to know that Taskmaster and Black Ant would fail to capture the lizard for his plan to work. That's a very good point.
Mm.
Very good point.
I think
we've moved on to the negatives. I don't think many of us have many pros, do we?
I thought it was good. I think the problem is that it just ground to a halt. Like, the original plan was for this arc to only have 5 issues. Like, this was supposed to be like the length of Back to Basics. But then for some reason, I don't know why they added another issue, but they did. I don't know. Maybe if there's like a behind the scenes bit in the trade, they'll explain why it got an extra issue. But the original plan was supposed to only have the 5 money. We've got to have
plot twist
money.
Yeah. Gotta
George,
get another $3.99.
That's not a plot twist, George. We know that's in Marvel's MO. That's not even a surprise.
Actually, we've talked a little bit of cons. What's some of your main ones?
I think the main one, just how this has started to feel, it's lost a lot of its momentum. Everything's starting to feel like it's happening because it's supposed to. Like Peter's supposed to feel conflicted, like be forced into this position where he's having to wrestle with the number one thing, he wouldn't do. He would never kill anyone. And so let's put him in a position where he's forced to choose between, like, oh, you're going to have to potentially kill this person. And if you don't do it, then these other people might die.
Your ex and a lizard boy might die.
Yeah. Even though he's the one insisting, like, hey, do this. I'm like, Peter, Craven, that's not the same. This isn't, you can't put these on the same level. There's, you have assisted suicide and then you have homicide.
There's that issue of
there's a hierarchy here.
There's
you can't build yourself in the same way over all of them.
Go ahead, Neil.
Oh, I'm sorry, Ashley. I don't mean.
I'm sorry. We keep talking at the same time.
There's an episode of The Office, like in the last season, where Ed Helms' character Andy contrives a situation, and then he's like, "Oh, you got a taste of your own medicine," and one of the character goes, "Yes, this is a very awkward situation that you have contrived. Congratulations." That does kind of reflect this issue in particular, that it's just kind of like, oh, look, you've contrived the situation.
And I just always especially hate that particular pickle to put a hero in, to force them to choose between, what that one thing they wouldn't do and, saving someone's life or, doing the right thing. But when the circumstances around that are so contrived, like, it completely falls on its face, and it takes me out of it completely.
One big con out of me, the artwork just didn't work for me either.
Oh my god!
The one piece of art that really was like, to me, it was like, oh, this is not very good, is the panel right after you see Spider-Man attached to the dog collar. He lifts up his shirt and it looks like he's got Stegron scales as a six-pack.
Exoskeleton.
Peter has patrician taste, according to George. He's got Stegron tech. Ooh, mama.
Doesn't it look like he's got Stegron scales, George, when he lifts up his shirt for his stomach? I mean, that just looks bad. I'm not digging it at all.
I mean,
you could literally cut yourself on those abs.
I know, it's gross.
Get some cheese. We'll grate it.
Zach, we're hearing a lot out of you, but what's your grade on it?
This is a story-wise, it's a B.
Okay.
Artwork-wise, it's a C+, so I'm going to kind of give it a B-. This is not. This is the point where I kind of feel like we're getting a little too long on the tooth on this story.
Yep, that's what we all said. Yep.
And sorry for all the my computer wanted to update.
You must have a Windows PC.
10. And I'm like, really? And then my phone died.
Yeah.
So, go ahead, George.
I did have one pro that I wanted to throw out. I didn't get around to it earlier because you just asked me about somebody else's pro and then just sort of glossed over me altogether.
I'm very sorry.
No, it's fine. I don't hold a grudge. It's okay.
Oh, you don't hold a grudge.
Okay, you know what? Everyone laughing right now can kiss my butt. Even Ashley laughed on that.
Zach, what happened to Zach?
That's terrible. All right. Now, the one, and Ashley's going to feel bad about laughing about me because I'm about to say something. The one character that has sort of, aside from Spider-Man, whose story it is, that has kind of really stood out for me and needed it rehab-wise after Slot's character assassination crap is Felicia. Felicia, I think this story has done very well by Felicia.
That's true. That's true.
I wanted to point that out.
His rehab session is going on for Black Cat. Also, the Lizard. He's trying to bring things back.
That was another con for me. Was Billy's soul is actually in this clone. I was like,
Zach, you're our clone expert. Does that contradict, or is it kind of just jumbled into?
Can souls go into clones? Let's go to the clone expert.
Am I wrong? This is exactly up his alley.
It's really forced, wasn't it?
This is where the clone conspiracy reanimation bull stuff. See what I did there, Douglas? basically doesn't work because you look at Ben Reilly. You would assume that Ben Reilly has a soul,
No,
even
you
though
wouldn't.
he's a clone of Peter Parker because he's got a
Mhm.
different personality. He doesn't have Peter Parker's soul.
He wasn't born; he was grown.
In a vat.
Grown.
There's babies being grown in test tubes right now, but they were also born. Anyway, you're right, George.
Oh God.
However, I don't agree with this notion that this reanimation of Billy Connors constitutes the returning of his soul.
However,
It is.
in for
However,
a penny and for a pound. I mean, this is comics.
this is deeply philosophical for a comic book.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think the main problem is that like Peter, David, and Spencer have both had to juggle Slot's retconning of cloning, and now they're kind of forced to chew. They're forced to sleep
Yeah.
in the bed that they've made. Okay.
It felt very much to me like a heavy-handed nod and wink to the audience, like, okay, this is the canon now, just so you know, write it down. I'm like, how does this affect the story right now at all? How is this relevant? Like, do we really need to know this information? It was very shoehorned in.
It was supposed to like be a sort of growth for Billy, but it didn't feel that way. It's kind of Billy and Felicia just literally sit down and explain what's going on.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's very exposition-y for all the wrong reasons.
I think,
Yeah.
could we all agree that if we take this chapter out of the overall story, we could still know what's going on? Did we need this book? I don't think we did.
This is decompression at its finest. And
Yeah,
when I say finest, I mean at its worst.
Bendis would be proud.
But,
Yeah.
you know,
I feel like
Bendis would be.
the main takeaway from this issue, like the only thing you need to know really to get on to the next one, is the cover.
And,
Peter
and
attacked by vermin. He gets overwhelmed.
that being said, though, I'm not gonna like we just threw out a Bendis reference to all the crap that Bendis used to do and all the packing.
I'm
Of
talking about
stories he
I'm
used to
talking
do.
more about the decompression, like just spreading it out more than it needs to be.
But I'll say this in defense of Spencer. This is really for me like the first point in Spencer's run, and it's only because of the length where I have felt like this is the big stumbling block. But I mean, up until this point, I mean, we didn't really have a lot of that. Like I think like what the longest story arc we had before now was 3 issues.
5.
Mhm.
Which one was 5?
The back to basics arc where Peter gets split in 2.
Oh, okay. So
yeah.
early on.
But that at least had something to say about Peter.
Yeah.
How many
So-
months has Hunted been going on?
It's been going on since I think March. It just feels like it's been going on longer because of all the Hunted issues when it was quadruple shipping.
So we're on month 3. This could have been wrapped up in about 2, maybe.
Mhm.
I don't know. Anyway, any other thoughts on this issue before we move on? I think we've pretty much gone through it.
It's unnecessary, but I think it was fine. I guess.
It's just a shame because I was really in like this arc was set up really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like it lost all momentum here. All of the pinch points felt really forced. I was not buying like, oh no, is Peter going to die? So there's no tension there. The
Yeah.
foreshadowing was really heavy-handed with like, oh, Craven's starting to make all these little allusions about what his master plan is. We're talking about the Avatar and the test. What's this test? And it's just like dropping all this fruit for the reader, like, ooh, ask a question, wonder what's going on. And
Yeah.
that's
It's
what
interesting-
really
This
captured
is
my
where
attention.
this is where an editor would be very helpful.
Well,
Right,
well,
Ashley?
Yep.
We'll find out if we enjoyed this arc with the next issue when it wraps up. But before we do that, a couple things on YouTube chat that I want to mention before we go on. Chi-Town is wondering, how does one transfer a soul into a bag of flour? If the Pillsbury Doughboy is overcooked and burned, they can make another one with the same soul. Vinkman, when George and I were...
Wait. How do you think the Pillsbury Doughboy has lasted the decades and generations as a character?
So I'm gonna
transferred one to the other.
I'm gonna take a shot. I think it's when you copy a body, and this could be completely wrong because my knowledge of clone stuff is not up to snuff with Flower Man here. That
You're cruising for a bruising, boy.
Did you just call me boy?
Yes, boy. You're the youngest one here, son.
It's a southern thing.
But the basic theory I think that Spencer and Slot are working with is that you can theoretically duplicate the soul along with the body, and then from 0 point you diverge the personality and soul from there because it becomes a different person after that experience.
You
because
deserve
of the life.
You
Because-
deserve a no prize for that one. If
No,
that-
that-
With
that's
that,
actually-
is there a concept of like heaven and hell? And well, we know that there's a concept of hell in the
Yeah,
Even Hulk is dealing with that with like the
There-
one.
So
there's
what
little-
happens to their soul? What happens to people's souls when they die?
I guess. I mean, Ben
they
Riley kind of
they go to
established-
Valhalla.
But then
Uh.
if there's a new body made for them and it's like, whoop, you're
I
back.
think it depends on where they come from.
Yeah,
Where
they come
they
from.
originate.
If they're Asgardian, they go to Valhalla.
They go to Valhalla.
What's the system of checks to make sure that it's the right soul to the right body?
There's probably a bean counter somewhere. Uh,
Hey, Peter.
This is Spencer having to
this
deal
is
with. I
this
don't.
is deep for a
You
comic
have to
book.
like take a test.
I don't necessarily blame Spencer for having to deal with Slot's dumb retcon to
Is
cloning.
there like
I-
multiple choice or short answer?
Actually, there's like a DMV in heaven.
Yeah, right.
Real quick, I have to mention this. Venkman, when George and I were singing Fever, he goes, whenever I hear that song, I think of Rita Moreno singing it on The Muppet Show. Do you remember that one, George?
Ooh, Rita Moreno was hot back in the
Oh,
day, Brad.
brother.
Woo!
And you know who she was
Oh.
singing that with? Animal.
Yeah,
Oh, I remember that episode so well. And she
yeah.
was on the Electric Company with Spider-Man. That's how we bring it all around.
she was a spicy meatball.
Yeah.
Oh man, Rita Moreno. She's beautiful. All right, George, you've got the next issue. Let's take us through it.
Oh, goody.
Your turn.
All right. No, we start off with Spidey. Craven has him. What is it that's on? Like, is some kind of leash or something? He's like, what was it from? Like,
Who's Spider-Man?
It's like
With the rat tail.
I like to imagine
No.
that
With the
I like
hair.
to. Oh, I'm sorry.
You're
I like
good.
to imagine. You know those little backpacks that the kids that like 3-year-olds have, like the monkey backpack that has like a leash on it. I like to
Yeah.
imagine that's what Peter has.
it's
on
a
his
kid's
back.
leash.
So he doesn't get lost.
Oh,
There's
it's
like
a
that-
kid's leash. Okay, there
There's,
you go.
there's like that issue of America where America Chavez's girlfriend is tied down to a bed with a backpack leash. I just enjoy.
Whoa.
This is my this one that reminds me
None of us really wanted to ever read that book, and you kept reading it like unironic.
Anyway, George, Spider-Man's tied up.
Spider-Man's tied up. You've got Black Cat looking after Billy while being hunted by Craven Jr., son of Craven. You've got the what are we calling the rich people, the hunt in
the Weekend Warriors.
the Weekend Warriors.
Yeah. I like that.
Getting ready to square off against getting off Vulture's
All new, all different Wild Pack.
bird pack. I don't know. Yeah. And all the while Craven is monologuing like a lot. Like Craven won't shut up.
He didn't get enough last issue.
No. It's amazing. So yeah, Craven's monologuing. And eventually, he pushes Spidey too far. They start fighting. I love the fight because they're really pounding on one another.
Yeah.
Through different points in this issue, not just here in this opening sequence. They both get good hits in.
How do you get stabbed in the shoulder?
Yeah, well, I mean, this isn't Spidey at full strength right now.
No,
We've
it's
established that. So, Craven's kind of, going back over events. There's a lot of like looking down at you, judging panels.
Mm-hmm.
While this, and Craven talks for 17,000 pages.
Alone on a Friday night. God, you're
I-
pathetic.
I am someone who, I mean, Brad, you remember back in the days like Wolfman Perez comics,
Yeah.
right?
The-
Remember, and like
The villain monologues.
they would, I mean, just dialogue period. They would pack like 9 or 10 issues worth of dialogue into each comic.
Mm-hmm.
Compared to what we have today. Nick Spencer is giving that a run for its money. With some, I'm not saying that is a bad thing. It's
Yeah.
it was interesting to read for me. I'm just like, it's a positive for me because I'm like looking at it and I'm reading it and I'm like, this actually has weight unlike what we had for the last 10 years
Mhm.
when people wouldn't shut up. This
Yeah.
because like we don't, and it also reminded me of the fact that like during Spencer's run, he's letting Peter be the funny one, and other people are because remember, like a lot of times, like in the last 10 years, everyone was sort of competing for the gag. But here, I really like that Craven is legitimately menacing. He's like a James Bond villain.
Ramos definitely shines with like the inks on Craven.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't shine with the Spider-Man black suit.
No.
Oh,
Mhm.
Craven looks amazing. But go ahead, George.
So Craven's getting in his head. Craven's pulling a Norman on him.
Yeah.
I mean, he really is. I mean, that's where Craven is with this. It's all up in your head. And Spidey, of course, is not at full strength. He's confused. He doesn't know why he can't focus. And then Craven talks like a holographic arcade, sort of like Emperor Palpatine appearing all of a sudden,
Mhm.
in Phantom Menace. And also, before I forget this, because I know I'll forget it in cons, boy, does Arcade have a butt whooping coming at some point, right?
Yep.
All right. Anyway, so Craven basically lays out to Arcade. All right, here's what I want done now. Basically, undo all the bad things I have done if Spider-Man kills me. Right. And so Spider-Man's like, I don't kill people. I don't want to kill people. I mean, maybe I indirectly kill people with the lizard. I didn't mean to. Spidey's thinking, of course, back to MJ. When did that?
It happened in issue 17 the first time, but now
Okay.
he slashed him with the blade, and they gave him like a new dose of the.
Well, I was thinking
poison.
I was trying to think back like when the first time it happened was.
Was it one of his fever dreams? He like passed out, and the fever had been going on since the beginning of this arc.
Well,
Yeah.
no, because I think in issue 17, like when Peter's diving into the cargo ship, like Craven Jr. pumps the room full of the green gas.
Oh, right.
So Spider-Man, starts kicking the crap out of Craven.
Mhm.
Right. Really good fight. I like the hits in here. It's some strong stuff.
Yeah.
And really, I mean, he's really pounding him. But of course, he's Spider-Man, so he
Okay.
stops short of actually killing him. And Spider-Man's like, no, this is how I'm going to do this. This is my solution, Craven.
You're gonna watch.
Yeah. And I liked that. I really liked that
I
moment.
did too.
I really liked that moment. You've got Craven Jr. kind of getting the upper hand on Felicia, stabbing her. She's down, about to get her, but then here comes the lizard, naked lizard.
The best kind.
What?
Where did that come from?
Actually, what?
She doesn't like lizard with pants, evidently.
What?
What in the world? Of all the people.
Oh my god!
Oh my lord! I'm broken. I wasn't expecting that.
That escalated quickly.
Wow.
Naked lizard, the best kind.
The best
wow.
kind.
We're supposed to just stop and move on?
I don't want to know.
Fill the silence.
I don't want to know what kind of fanfic Ashley reads now.
Whoa. Man.
Wow.
All right,
All
then.
right.
So Naked Lizard's going at it with Craven. That doesn't sound good.
With Craven Jr. Eventually manages to get the upper hand on Craven Jr. and rescue Billy, who he then turns over to Black Cat.
And he turns into Barney.
Yeah,
Yeah, Barney the dinosaur. Yeah.
and it makes me wonder: is like Black Cat like going to be like the new guardian for Billy
Lizard
Billy
boy.
Billy Clone Soul? As
I
I'll
hope
call him.
not. Full-
Billy Clone Soul.
Billy Clone.
Unrelated. When I was Jack and I were in Costa Rica a few weeks ago, and we had a little cat that came to our beach house and was staying with us. On our last day, this cat went and caught this lizard, killed it, and within literally about 100 seconds had eaten the entire thing, ripped his head off, bent his body in half.
I think
that
this
was
is
nuts.
related. So the
And
cat
then,
ate the whole lizard.
I turn around and oh god, you can hear the bones crunching. This is a big lizard, like a 6 inch long lizard.
Oh
And
my
then literally about
god!
100 seconds later, I turn back and there's just a head, a little sack of guts, and a tail left on the rock.
Ashley's bringing the funny tonight, isn't she?
How's that funny?
I'm terrified.
horrible. What are you talking about?
So I turned around and then I heard the bones crack.
All I saw left was a head and some guts.
Ashley, I gotta ask, what kind of cats are there in Costa Rica?
Cat
best
lizards,
kind?
dude.
The
Cat
best kind?
lizards.
Man.
Like an iguana?
So you
No,
can't
it's
kill
just
the
a
iguana.
little, I mean, maybe it's like a baby iguana, a weak one.
Poor God, it just keeps getting worse.
Oh my
So I
gosh.
wonder where they're gonna go with this black cat and Billy arc.
All right.
I don't know, but if Felicia shows up on your
Nice
doorstep,
dad already.
I don't know how I feel about any of this right now.
Ashley's just
I
Concerned
really don't.
man.
Zach,
hysterical.
Do you mind if I save that pic? Like, I take a screenshot of your face right now, just like as a concern.jpg.
There you go. Snap it.
All right.
Okay, go ahead.
So Craven starts laughing maniacally, and that villain loses, and it's finally like, "Ha! I was blind, but now I see." I mean, like, how many times have we heard this? I mean, Norman does this like every other appearance, right? The crazy laugh at the end, and then turning it all around. Like trying to turn victory into or loss into victory. Ha ha! You fool! This was my plan all along.
Keikaku.
And yeah, and Spider-Man's sort of like, you're nuts. He doesn't actually say that verbatim, but you can see it on his black suit face. He's like, you're cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
On his Ramos drawn face of confusion.
So then Craven, being defeated, orders Arcade to shut down all the Weekend Warriors, and then Vulture's like, "We won! I've led you to victory."
Yeah.
Which was funny.
Mhm.
And everyone's like, Vulture. Vulture's like the new Bane, apparently.
Crashing this plane with no survivors.
And then we go back to Spidey and defeated Craven, and he's like, "I will never hunt again, but the spider must kill me. I will never hunt again." He starts calling Peter a beautiful creature.
I thought that was so creepy and cool. I thought that was nice.
This is
Did he look
probably
into his eyes when he said it?
This is probably
I-
someone's fan fiction.
I was like, he's about 10 seconds away from trying to kiss Peter.
And Peter
creepy.
bolts it.
Creepy? George, wasn't that creepy?
Well, hey, he does get into a suit.
He does put on it's like, well, if I can't have you, I'll wear you.
It's like Silence of the Lamb stuff.
Yeah.
Buffalo Bill.
Let me slip into my skin suit.
Oof. Whoa, there it goes. There's Ashley's first snort of the night.
That's the second one. That's the
Oh,
second one.
second. Collect them all.
That's three. She just had another one.
That was mine.
Three snorts.
That was my snort. I apologize,
Okay.
Ashley. This wasn't your fault this time.
Oh,
If
no.
if we hear crackling of bones, we need to be scared.
Yeah.
Yeah. Snort and then crackle.
I wouldn't do
and
that on
pop.
camera. There'd be evidence.
So Spider-Man runs off.
By the way, that is a
What?
weird looking Spider-Man running down the hall.
Yeah.
That is a weird looking Spider-Man.
I like
running down-
Ramos' art, but that was I
That's-
don't know what the hell that
he
was.
he knows what Craven wants. He's just booking it.
It's weird. It's
So
weird.
so we have Craven walk back as he did in the last hunt. Walk into the darkened room with a rifle and,
Yeah, a shotgun,
and
yeah.
a coffin. That's not a shotgun; it's a rifle.
Oh yeah.
It's a hunting
shotgun
rifle.
either.
as a matter of
It
fact.
was, it
It's
was a
probably
hunting rifle both times.
It's probably a 308.
Yep.
Anyway, so and everyone else who's not me, Zach is like, "Oh, what? Yes, well." Anyway, so you see Spider-Man, and then you see Craven Jr. And Craven Jr. and Spider-Man start fighting. You think presumably this is while Spider-Man's trying to escape after he just left Craven. And you look at this and you're like, second verse, same as the first. We've seen this before. Craven's gonna crawl into the coffin and kill himself.
Yeah.
So we have a knockdown drag out with Spidey,
Yeah.
and Craven Jr. And then Craven Jr. finally gets the upper hand, strangles Spidey to death, except whoop, psych, it's Craven.
What a twist!
Craven dressed like Spider-Man, and his own son killed him. So presumably next time we see a Craven, it'll be his son who cries the single tear. It is always raining, And
It always rains down in Africa.
and
I saw the rains out of
was-
Africa.
Are you trying?
waiting.
Are you trying to do the Weezer cover? God,
I was waiting for it, and then we go back to the coffin, and inside the coffin is a picture of Craven and all the little Cravens, and presumably Skittles the penny, you know what, is in there.
I don't know. I think that's his 87 boys.
Those
we
are
just
the
talked
87 boys. Yeah,
Yeah.
the Skittles the penny hooker is not there.
She's dead. George, what would your grade be on this one?
I give this one a B plus. Only because it made me think the ending. I was like, "Are you really? We're going to do this again?" And then suddenly I was like, "Oh, okay. That's actually interesting." I
Do,
there were
do you think
what?
this is Spencer fixing Craven? Because should he have ever been brought back?
fixing.
no, Craven should never have been brought back.
This is
so
him
in
fixing
a
it.
sense, this is Spencer fixing Craven by killing him again.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
Let's go around the horn. Ashley, what's your grade on it?
This is a B.
Neil,
I'm gonna be generous. I'm gonna give it an A.
Zach,
Hey,
an A. B plus out of me. That ending really upped it because the art didn't.
Oh yeah.
George,
payoff-
your
I'm
George, your pros.
Again, I'm impressed with Felicia, and I'm at a point where I'm like, what's next for Felicia?
Hmm.
And I haven't been what's next for Felicia since the 80s, right? So I mean that's interesting. I liked the twist ending.
Me too.
I really liked the twist ending. I hated that Arcade kind of got away. Arcade's got a butt kicking coming.
You probably like the fights between Craven and Spidey.
I did.
Those are good.
I did like a lot of the fighting. Even though, I'm somebody who's defended Ramos's art before on the book. That I've liked it, and it's changed over time, and we've noted that here when we've talked about it. But yeah, there were some really wonky, Spider-Man panels in this thing that had me kind of scratching my head. And I mean, like when suddenly you look at that and you're like, okay, Liefeld does better limbs than you. It's that.
I wonder if it's
Not his
because
strongest
he's not used to drawing a black suited Spider-Man as opposed to a red one.
It shouldn't matter.
You're right, George. It really should not matter.
It shouldn't matter.
Yeah,
It shouldn't. But
it
here
just
we are.
the one shot where it's a low angle, Spider-Man's bent over, Craven is looming above. You wanted to save them for the ones you care for. You made sacrifice. That Spider-Man looks so bad. Just like an anorexic Spider-Man or something. The legs are so tiny.
And I think he was trying to do like just trying to explore a little bit like a new kind of style or something like that. I just don't think it worked.
I don't either, man.
I really don't think it worked.
But his Craven does look good.
His Craven is powerful, yeah.
Yeah, his Spider-Man
I love his Craven. Like I've always said that Ramos relies heavily on inks and shadows to make his imagery more powerful, and he definitely does that with Craven. Like in that same panel where Spider-Man looks like he's gonna snap if you twist him the wrong way.
Yeah.
Like Craven looks menacing in that panel, which is weird because it's supposed to be, which I guess is the point, but it's weird because like Spider-Man's so poorly drawn while Craven looks awesome.
Yeah. What
Can we talk about Barney the dinosaur lizard for a second?
Let's wait till cons. Is that a con?
Yeah.
Okay, let's keep going for pros. Let's keep it together. Any other pros? Ashley, what'd you like about it?
I definitely like the twist. It did, like, I was kind of like thrown, like, wait, what? But seeing how it came together, it was a satisfying resolution for Craven's arc throughout this 6-issue series.
Yeah. Zach, what were you going to say? Any pros out of you, Zach? You gave it an A.
I gave it an A. I think that the story had a pretty satisfying first chapter of its conclusion, because obviously the prologue's next issue. But the main crux of the story is over. This is a redemptive story arc for people like Felicia and Craven. One of the things that when I did a episode talking about Grim Hunt on Spidey Dude, the problem that I had with Grim Hunt in that story, and even I had the problem when we were recording it at the time we did this podcast, was that it has to mean something. That if you're going to make such a significant resurrection, The stories that follow it have to be impactful. The only time I've really seen that has been with Norman over the last 20 to 25 years, where there was when Norman bought the Daily Bugle and made it that Norman Osborn was Spider-Man's greatest enemy, more so than the Green Goblin. There was at least a short-term couple of years worth of stories that they were willing and ready to tell. The fact is, with Kraven, we've gotten a handful of stories, none of which have been impactful, none of which have actually been that good. The Kraven story in Scarlet Spider contradicts a lot of the story here. But if you didn't read the Chris Joe Scarlet Spider title, then you wouldn't know that technically the curse had already been broken.
Do we like the origin of Kraven 87, the son? He's killed his father, and now he has a mad on for Spidey because he's been tricked.
The problem is that we've seen Sons of Kraven so often that it loses whatever impact it might have. The fact that we had Alyasha.
Those were in the 90s, if I remember correctly.
Yes, Alyasha was late 90s. You had the Grim Hunter, which was Vladimir, which was a Howard Mackie co-creation with Tom Lyle right before the Clone Saga. He was ineffective. Alyasha had some interesting depth, and then it was completely ruined by Ron Zimmerman, of all people.
Oh, the Get Kraven. Oh, I think we talked about who he's dating or dated. Did you remember that topic on a news show?
Yes, we were trying to figure out who it was, and we never could figure it out.
No, I know who it was.
Who was it?
He was dating Cher. Of all people, he was dating Cher.
That poor bastard. Anyway.
Oh, Ron Zimmerman?
Yeah.
Yeah,
he's dating Cher.
Yeah.
If I could turn back Kraven.
If I could turn back time and take away her Twitter. Anyway, moving on.
If I could find a fearful symmetry. No, that doesn't sound.
No, stop. Stop.
If there is one place where Rainbow shines in these issues, it's the fight scenes, because they have like genuine like heavy weight to them. Like the scenes where Kraven and Peter are just slugging at each other, that's where he definitely shines. Like the scenes where where they're just standing around doing nothing, it looks ridiculous. But like when they're actually doing things, it's engaging.
I also like the Spider-Man that takes him by the head and says, "I want you to watch," and he's still wisecracking a little bit as he does it. So I think that's cool. I mean, that was neat. And the twist really boosted the score, because after the last issue, we needed something.
I'm sorry, Brad.
That's okay.
I think that for all the pacing issues that this arc has had, that the payoff in this single issue was very much, I don't want to say it was completely worth it, but it somewhat redeemed the pacing issues of the arc as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
Particularly because again, it wraps up Kraven's arc, and it's the first major Spider-Man story in a couple of years now, or even since 2007, where it feels like it's at least had a somewhat consistent quality and stuck the landing on its ending.
Yeah. George, any other pros before we go to cons with George?
All
right, let's go to cons. What didn't you like, George?
Again, and this is the thing about the overall story. It did drag on too long. This would have been better as like a late 80s graphic novel, or something like that. One of those old trade paperback, you know what I mean, Brad? Like
Parallel Lives.
Yeah, something like that.
So you think this book could have been like 64 pages or however long those were?
Yeah, and it would have been limited to that, and it would have been a lot better.
It would have been tighter.
Yeah. But I like the ending overall because of the twist.
Yeah.
It just did kind of go on for too long, and Arcade didn't get his butt whooped as well, and Arcade needs a butt whooping.
Well, we got one more chapter after this. We got Kraven 87 going after Spidey in a red suit, and maybe Arcade's in it.
But it's already kind of gone on too long, though. Like we've complained that
it's almost as if they were literally trying to pad the issues out to get to 25 for that big, milestone issue, which is really 826. I kind of get that feeling, and really, the problem is that the issues, while most of them were good, it suffered from the same problem that Clone Conspiracy suffered, in that the main story was not even really complete. If you remember, we complained about one of the complaints about Clone Conspiracy was you had a 5-part story, and then you had to read Omega to get all to really wrap the story up.
You didn't have to.
You
It's
didn't.
like,
Shut up, George.
the Hood issues were too dependent on the material at the beginning. There's a way to do it. Now, if they had timed the Hood issues so that in the main line, they'd kind of teased one aspect and been like, oh, I want to know more about that. Like, I think the way they did it with Gibbon was really good. That worked. But then everything else just felt like an information dump and like, oh, by the way. Because of that, because it wasn't woven in organically in any way with the rest of the story, it didn't mean anything. And so you were wasting your time kind of chewing on these other issues while the rest of the story ended up losing a lot of momentum.
Neil and Zach, another upcoming Spider-Man crossover that is really padded is Maximum Carnage. Oh, no, Absolute Carnage. Maximum Carnage was padded too.
Part 2.
But we've got the main book of Absolute Carnage, I'm sorry. And then you've got these side minis. You've got Deadpool versus Carnage. You've got Scream. You've got what's the one with the symbiotes?
Separation anxiety. I think they're doing
separation anxiety again.
You know what?
I'll take crap George isn't gonna buy for $1,000, Alex.
You know what? I'm gonna give Absolute Carnage the benefit of the doubt. It hasn't come out yet because it doesn't come out until August. But I'm gonna give it the benefit of the doubt for now and say that the main story will actually have some foundation and like actual content in it, and the minis will probably just be like supplementary material.
Oh, there's also an Absolute Carnage Miles book too. Yeah.
Nah, I don't care.
Yeah. All right. Any other thoughts on the cons before we wrap this one up?
Why does the lizard look like Barney the dinosaur?
Ramos. That's why.
I mean, why? I halfway expect to be like, "Hi, Billy. I love you. You love me."
And then, like, I love how during the second line the volume just spiked and he just like he was gonna blow out his bass. I do have a con. No Taskmaster Black Ant resolution.
Oh yeah.
Like Taskmaster just kind of brings Lizard in and like he was never seen again.
Yeah.
And that kind of
he went to the bar to go drink away.
No,
drink away his sorrows.
Well, I collect the Punisher book, and Taskmaster was in there fighting Frank.
Yeah,
so,
by that logic, he shouldn't have been in Captain America either, because he was there too.
Oh, yeah, he was over in Cap too, wasn't he? Yeah. So Taskmaster went and messed with Spider-Man, then he went over to Cap's book, and then he went over to the Punisher book. That's funny.
Book my final thoughts on this this arc, while the ending was good, an ending can really only be the sum of its parts. So if you don't have good setup, you don't have good following action, you don't have a good climax, and all of that is building up to how you're going to resolve your ending. So if any one of those pieces is missing or fractured in any way, the ending is going to be impacted. So while unfortunately I think there are a lot of good things done in this ending, the impact of it was just really, kind of knocked out of its socket by the previous issue, and how much that jacked up what our characters' motivations were, why any of this was happening. And so I liked the arc overall. I think it had a really, really great setup, and I was really on board with it. But to see it fall so flat is a little disappointing. But it's nice to be upset over legitimate story-related issues and not just constant
stupid BS that we got to deal with Slott.
Ashley, I guess what would your grade for this whole Hunted story be?
The entire thing,
as a big trade.
Let's see. If I were a teacher and I were given this as a creative writing assignment or something, I'd give it a C.
A C?
Like, for that reason that I said, some individual parts are good, but when you don't have everything working together, it affects the story as a whole.
George, as an overall Hunted story in a trade, what would you give this whole story?
The entire thing?
Yeah, if you put it in a trade paperback, and you had to grade the trade, what would you grade it?
B minus.
Neil?
I'd give it a B+. It had a really strong couple opening salvo issues, and it kind of faltered for a bit, but it had a strong conclusion. So, I mean, I'm probably being a bit more lenient, but I would still give it a B+.
Zach?
It's a B.
Yeah.
Look, I mean, if you call this a sequel to Kraven's Last Hunt, it's not as good as Kraven's Last Hunt,
That's an
but
A.
which is an A+ story. But I'll say this: this is the first Kraven story I actually gave a crap about, and so in that sense, it's accomplished its goal.
When you say the first Kraven story you've ever given a crap about, are you including stuff like before he died, or like just after he died, or and he got
Post-death.
back? Okay.
Post-death.
I think I remember liking Grim Hunt.
You did, and we all thought
Yeah.
you were stupid back then.
That's true. I think I liked it, but anyway.
I hated it.
I would give it a B because B is satisfactory. And this was a satisfactory story. It wasn't an excellent story, which is an A. It was above average, I thought. So I give it a solid B, not a B+, but a B out of me.
I kind of. Oh,
I think I remember, Brad. I think on Grim Hunt, I remember you liking it up until the point that Spider-Man ripped the skin off of the face of She-Kraven.
Anna.
I don't think I minded that. It was brutal.
No,
It was brutal, but he
No.
stuck his hand and
it wasn't brutal.
no, I
He
mean it was
ripped-
brutal.
He ripped her face off.
Yeah, but what are you talking about?
It was-
They pulled a mark of Cade on her face.
Yeah,
And there were-
that is
brutal.
And
that
there
is
was
out of character.
there
isn't
was that whole awkward, cringy. Maddie Franklin goes off in a snuff film ending
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Oh, no.
Willingly. I wanted to vomit. That was so bad.
this was Joe Kelly, if I remember correctly, wasn't it?
I think
Yeah.
it was either.
Yeah,
Yeah, it
What
was
year was
Yeah,
it?
it sounds like it
Like
would take Kelly to write something.
2009, I think. was
Yeah,
what it had.
Of
that
course,
was-
it was the early 2000s.
when Kelly's not writing comedy,
Early 2000s.
It was 2009.
Mm-hmm.
All right,
Let's
Let's wrap it up. Final thoughts, Zach. Go ahead.
Well, this was a fun episode to be a part of, even though I was late.
Neil, final thoughts.
I do have one last con that I wanted to say before.
Okay.
The bit where Kraven like just says, "Oh, well, you beat me anyways. I guess I'll turn off the robots." Seemed kind of
Anticlimactic.
Contrived, and it also just meant to just kind of hand Peter a win. I mean, I enjoyed that Peter got a win, and without like, oh look, he has to. Oh, I can see myself in your reflection. Hi, Zach. But I feel like there wasn't really a consequence to Peter not killing Kraven. Like, I know there shouldn't be by design, but like Kraven is clearly set up like an ultimatum for Peter. But for some reason, even though Peter chooses neither, Kraven goes along with it anyways. He turns with the robots anyways, and I didn't like that.
Final thoughts, George.
I don't know. I feel like I've talked about it already.
Okay.
Enough. I'm ready to move on.
Ashley, we started with you. We'll end with you. Final thoughts.
To all the little creative writing student chickadees out there, remember, story is a series of moving parts. You mess up the middle, it's going to affect your end. So make every bit as good as you can. Every bit
There you
counts.
go.
And if
All
you
right.
like this video, like, share, and subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified next time we go live.
There you go.
Cool. Okay, Philip.
Good job,
All
Zach.
right, we will be back, YouTubers, in about 10 minutes, and we will tackle news. We've got some obvious spider news stories, and we have some not so obvious news stories that hopefully my panel brings the funny. All right, that is a tease.
None of us
Stick around.
are looking forward to the bringing of the funny.
You bringing the
I
funny?
don't have any more stories
What
about
if-
animals eating animals. So
what
I
if
don't
it's
know what I
what
can
if it's
bring to the
morbid,
table.
Brad? What if it's morbid? Do you want to just make jokes then?
I pitched
Yeah.
a
That's
softball.
the best time to make jokes, Neil.
I gave you a softball, and I want you to hit it out of the park. What the funny?
Ashley makes jokes at funerals just so that way it's not as uncomfortable.
Do y'all want to hear a
gosh.
joke?
Yes, I would love to hear a joke.
Why did Sally fall off the swing?
Why?
Because she has no arms.
Wow.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Not Sally.
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
Okay.
woo!
Knock.
What if Sally was knocking with her head?
Oh.
Well,
Knock. Knock.
knock, knock. Knock, knock. Who's there? Sally has a
Knock,
concussion.
knock.
Knock. Knock. I got a knock. Knock joke. Knock. Knock.
Who's
Who's there?
Madame.
Madame
Who's
there.
there?
My damn hand hurts from knocking so much.
And this is how the crawl space dies, by a knock knock
Brad,
joke.
God, Brad, you're a boomer. God.
Knock. Knock.
Such a dad.
Knock. Knock.
No one's home.
Knock.
Stop. We're
We
dead
don't want
already.
any.
Knock. Knock.
Stop. Please.
Deja.
Deja who?
Knock. Knock.
This is what we get for having a literal dad. Do
In
our-
the immortal words of Abigail Folger, who was murdered by the Manson family. Stop. I'm dead already.
Quote,
Oh.
Simpsons, stop. He's dead already.
All right. All right. Be back in 10, everybody.
Oh,
All right.
We're gonna go have a stiff drink.
Knock. Knock. Just kidding. Bye bye.
No.
Ugh.